month on Patreon, we have an official post where people can send me their teams. I can use rental teams on stream and in videos and provide feedback. And I also, I ask for paste bins as well if people don't have the rental codes. And, I do my best to fix all the teams that I can. So you can see, it just says, Series 13 rules have been updated. You can send in codes and teams for Series 13, Series 12. And if you scroll down a little bit, you can start seeing the teams that people submit here. So another cool thing about Patreon is, if you're on Patreon, you get to see all the cool rentals people submit as well. So it's not just my teams that I make. You get to see some really, really cool rentals. I know Viking VGC makes a bunch of really cool one. A bunch of cool creators. But let's get started on this first team here. It says, I have a Series 12 team, which features G-Max Machamp. I tried my best to play into its signature move, G-Max Chi Strike, which gives it and its teammate a critical hit boost, which increases crit rate for champ and its ally, right? But perhaps there is some potential I'm missing here. They only play in Showdown, so they submitted a paste, and basically, what we're going to be taking a look at is how we can fix this team and make it the best that it can be, given everything that they submitted to us. So that's going to be this team down here. You see it's Machamp, Cali Ice, Palkia, Comfey, Indeedee, and Sin. So one thing that you need to understand about how critical hit stages work is that every single boost to your critical hit ratio, it's not like one boost gives you 25%, two boosts gives you, it's a little bit more complicated than that. If you get to +2 crit ratio, you have a 50% chance to crit, which is actually a pretty high rate, I would say. So it's hard to use, Machamp correctly, because you have to, it's clashing so hard, because moves like Stone Edge and Cross Chop can critical hit as a high crit ratio move, so that's one stage, and then you have a G-Max Chi Strike, which is another stage. But then if you're in your G-Max mode for a couple turns, you're not using these moves which have a high chance to crit, right? So it's a bit of a hard Pokemon to use. I'm not gonna lie, I think regular Machamp is better than the crit one, but we're gonna do our best to actually feature this team. The first thing that you want to do when you get a team like this is actually just go into a team builder, just so you can see your weaknesses. So this is a weakness defensive coverage team builder. This is on Maryland, and you can see this team's actually pretty well balanced. What you always want to do is never really have more than 3 weaknesses to a specific type over here, and the weaknesses that you do have 1 to 2 weaknesses to, you want to do your best to mitigate those with resistances as well. So you can see bug type, there are 2 weaknesses, there's 2 resists. That doesn't say the same for rock, but same thing for dark. You have more resistances to cover up for your 2 weaknesses, which are really great. Steel, you have 2 for 2. And note that fairy, right? The fact that you have 2 fairy weaknesses and no fairy resistances, that's not that big of a deal, because this team's made well enough. Because got to think about it. Yeah, we have 2 weaknesses to fairy, but what are the 2? What's the best fairy user that can actually put pressure on us? It's gonna be Zacian. And so this team's actually packed with teams and mons that can deal with Zacian, notably being Incineroar. So it's a pretty cool team. It's made pretty well. Harry Games, how's it going? And so I do like how this team's looking so far. So it means I don't really need to change it on the mons and this team that was submitted. They have the right mons. The thing that I think is going to be able to help them the most is we're going to fix a lot of the EVs. We're going to clean up some of the moves and give them a general game plan for what they need to be doing in their own games. The first thing I want to do is fix the speeds, right? You can see they're already done really well on a lot of these mons, as they have speed reduced, 0 speed, speed reduced, 0 speed, speed reduced, 0 speed. This one's not speed reduced as 31. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Indeedee, need to work on that just a little bit. Sin, need to work on that just a little bit. But the thing that is weird about this team, let's go back and take a look at their submission. They say they think there's some potential I'm missing, right? And I think the reason why you're having struggles with this team is because Machamp is faster than Cali, which means if you set Trick Room, Cali attacks before the Machamp, and then you can't get your crit boost past to it. Another thing that I'm also kind of seeing here is the fact that you have all these crit boosting things in your Machamp. You want to boost your teammate's crit ratio, but Calyrex could totally hold a scope lens. So potentially Calyrex could hold a scope lens. Yeah. Oh man, I think when I don't know, I woke up, my computer blue screened. I was stressed about what I was going to do on stream today. I'm it's one of those days where it's I need everything to be perfect on the stream so I can upload it to YouTube. But I don't think I'll put this on YouTube. I think we'll just do this as a stream, and have it be called there. We're not ending, but we're just gonna have it be like that. I just don't know why I can't chill today. Anyways, yeah. So the Machamp is faster than the Cali, and that kind of throws off the whole lack of the team, right? You want your Cali to actually outspeed your Machamp, so Machamp will go first. So that means we actually want to have a Cali with like this many IVs. Yo, what is up? We're doing some Patreon team fixing today. So in this situation, you see the Calyrex would actually outspeed your Machamp. So after you get Trick Room up, you can boost the Cali's crit ratio. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to mess with items, we're going to mess with moves, we're going to mess with all that other stuff. It's going to be a good time. We got Omex dropping the sub at tier 2. Let's go. More subs. More subs. Let's go. And appreciate it, my friend. Hope we're having a great day so far. I appreciate the sub. Tier 2, man. That's amazing. So yeah, we want the Machamp to underspeed, so we can actually go first and Trick Room so it can pass the boost correctly. The next thing about Palkia is you could have Palkia as a min speed reduced, which you have here, but I actually think you're better off with Palkia going just a little bit faster. And we're going to talk about all these reasons why in just a little bit. There's nothing wrong with the Palkia set that does something like that, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. Basically, you want to be able to get up Trick Room to bully Trick Room teams with this, but also you want your Cali, note that we have these IVs here and your Palkia here, we want to be able to bully other Pokemon like Cali and Palkia in the mirror match. So for example, if we're going to be fighting up against people that have Palkia and Cali Ice, we can make them set Trick Room, and we can just punish them for it. So it's yeah. So I changed Helping Hand to Hyper Voice. On what mon? What mon are we talking about? Hyper Voice is a good move in pretty much every situation. It's good though. But yeah, we want to be able to outspeed things. And the Comfey is no exception. You want your Comfey actually to outspeed very specific Pokemon. So for example, let's take a look at this Incineroar. If we were to take an Incineroar here and go to max speed, it gets to 123. Comfey is very close to that, and you want to outspeed Incins. Or not Incins. You want to outspeed base 60s. It's not just Incineroar. It's outspeeding every Pokemon that's base 60. There's a lot of popular base 60 Pokemon that get Fake Out, notably Incineroar and Grimmsnarl. And there's a lot of Grimmsnarls that are running full speed right now on like Sash sets that are kind of weird. So you want your Comfey to always be able to outspeed, so you can always go for those floral healings and draining kisses. So in these situations, having just a little bit of speed here isn't going to really cause Comfey that much trouble. Also, the Sash is like, the fact that your Sash means it doesn't really matter. Right? Oh, Sylveon. Oh, cool. Happy to help. Trade Comfey to outspeed max speed Rillas. Hey, that could be even better. I think that this is more than enough. Because you still want your Comfey to be able to live through like a double up if possible. The next Pokemon's gonna be Indeedee. One thing that you always need to do whenever you're using a terrain setter that has like an 85 base, you need to have that speed tier be exactly what you need it to be. Some people on Rillaboom go a little bit faster. On Tapu Fini, sometimes people put a little bit of speed. On Indeedee, I'm a big fan, especially on Trick Room teams, of taking all the speed out and making it a speed reduced. That way, if I were to lead Indeedee and you lead a Rillaboom, you're going to set your terrain first, and then mine's going to activate. And if you can take away a Rillaboom's grassy terrain, it can't go for those big priority grassy glides. It can't go for fake outs, can't go for a lot of stuff. Same thing works for Tapu Fini, like taking away that misty terrain and putting up Psychic is going to give you a big advantage. We don't necessarily need to get our nature perfect. Right now, we're just talking about speed. Do you think Xerneas paired with Scarsilva and Hyper Voice would be value? I have a team that I used that with in 2019. It's okay. It loses the like fake out, loses the speed control, loses a lot of stuff, but it is what it is. You say Relaxed Nature is the only build worth having? Depends on the set. It really does depend on the set. You can be quiet in certain situations, and even calm can be okay sometimes. As for this Incin, Incin can be a weird one. You could ask for your Incins to be a little bit faster, so you could fake out other fake out users, and so it gives you a potential lead like Incin Comfey and Incin Cali, so you can get Trick Room up easy, and I think that's probably a better situation here. Common Incin EV spreads are things like sometimes people just put 4, sometimes people go none, sometimes people put 12. 20 has been popular in the past, 28. You see these are slightly speed creeping the other variants. Sometimes it goes like 36. I think the fastest Incin spread that I've realistically seen is like a 92. And I think that's too much. So like if you were to lead Incineroar and they lead Incineroar and they're Intimidate, we go after yours, that means they're really fast if you already have 92. I don't think we need 92 here. I think like a standard like 44 is good enough to outspeed. You would have confidence that you would outspeed other Incins, And if they do happen to outspeed you, cool. You know that, like, you can just go protect with your teammate. Maybe the turn after that, set the Trick Room. And then after that, you'd be able to go for, like parting shots, like late game or something like that into them. Yo, good day. How's it going? So now that we've got all of our speeds, we want to start working on adding what moves. We want to make sure we have the right moves, and this is what I like to do before we get really, really deep into the EVs. So the moves that we want. I do think that it's cool that you have like Cross Chop, Stone Edge, and stuff like that. I do think that Dynamic Punch is still going to be a better move, so I would personally go with Dynamic Punch here. Yes, it doesn't have that high crit chance that Cross Chop has, but like Dynamic Punch is really, really good. I think another thing that you would want to try here is using Knockoff over Lariat. Just my opinion, it can be a little bit stronger. Yes, it doesn't work as good versus Zacian, but it's really, really good against like a good amount of the meta. I think Knockoff's amazing, and it's great for breaking Ogres. Because it just does a ton of damage, and it gets rid of their vest, and since we're slower than with Machamp than things like our Palkia, if we have Trick Room up, we can take off their vest and just have Palkia one-shot them. Isn't this supposed to have a serious nature? We're not to natures yet. Like, the natures, like, if you want, we could actually take off all these other EVs, because the only EVs that we wanted to get right now are speed. So this is just how I build stuff. And then I think as far as Protect goes, Protect's fine. Another thing you could have here is if you wanted to find a way for Wide Guard to be on it, Wide Guard's really, really good on Machamp. But I think the Stone Edge is great because you can hit Zards and stuff like that. Zards and Thunbies and stuff like that. So I think this is a decent Machamp moveset. We're going to move on to the next guy. Cali's absolutely fine. That's the moveset you want on Cali. On Palkia, this is okay, but you don't need Thunderbolt. Realistically, like, what are you Thunderbolting? Kyogre? The thing that sets the rain? You can just put Thunder there, right? Also, like, you're going to be able to set your own rain too. Thunder's just a lot more powerful. I personally think you want a mixture of Thunder or Blizzard. One of those two is really, really good on Palkia, and I would personally recommend the Blizzard in a lot of situations. It's great for things like Yveltal, Groudons if the sun's up, or even Thundurus. But the fact that we have a Cali Ice means Cali can just do a lot of that stuff. So I think Thunder's great here to help Palkia in the Kyogre matchup. And I think as far as Comfey goes, it's a good Comfey moveset. As far as Indeedee goes, it's a good Indeedee moveset on the way that we're going to play this, and as far as Incin goes, that's a good Incin moveset, judging by how we're going to play this. So now that we have our speed set, now that we have our moves set, the next thing we can think about is items, and make sure that they're exactly what we want them to be. Going up to this Machamp, obviously you can see this is a really cool fake out. It's going to be a Policy Machamp. You want to make them think that it's Comfey Palkia, with Palkia being the Policy Mon, but obviously you can see it's a Life Orb on the Palkia. So I do think that this is a cool policy. It sounds good. I do understand the usefulness of Babiri. It helps you in your Zacian matchup, which can be a little bit dicey at some points. But I do think that, like, you could totally put a Scope Lens here if you wanted to play into Machamp boosting, or I would realistically just put the White Herb here. I understand that crits would go through attack drops, but you're not realistically going to have as many attack drops, and having White Herb here makes it so you're still a lead option if your opponent wants to lead with like an Intimidator like Landorus or Incin or something like that. So White Herb's going to be an amazing item on Cali. Palkia with Life Orb's fine. Comfey with Sash is good, Indeedee with Seeds is good, and Incin with Chople is good. Because remember, we already talked about the fact that this team has a little bit of a weakness to Fairy types. What's the most popular Fairy type? Zacian. We have things to cover up for Zacian specifically on this Incin set. So really, really cool stuff so far. And the cool thing about like an Incin set, we can actually take points out of defense if we wanted to, because we have Chople to mitigate a ton of the damage from a Sacred Sword. So that's great. And then we need enough attack to actually KO the Zacian back. It doesn't matter how much we don't get KO'd by a Sacred Sword if we actually can't KO the Zacian back. It's going to be pretty important. So now that we can start working on our EVs. So the first thing that we really want to think of is like, what do we want this Machamp to KO? Like, what is the point of this Machamp? What do we want it to OHKO? If Incin tries to switch in, negates the drop, you need to read it and max fight and do Incin for big deeps. Yeah, I think you're already onto it. We need to be able to KO Incineroars with this Machamp. So let's go take a look at damage calculator here. Alright, so Machamp, be sure to set everything to 50. Yo, thank you. Thank you for the follow. Gabomon, 20. Appreciate it. And we're going to go plug it up against an Incin. And let's just plug in Dynamic Punch for now. And let's see how much damage we actually do to Incin before Intimidate. Just like theoretically. And we're going to make ourselves Brave, probably. So that's as much damage we do to like a standard no EVs Incin. If we put 252 in here, You can see that we still get the OHKO with that Dynamic Punch, which is really, really good. If we were to Max Nuck, you see Max Nuck's weaker. I think it's like a 90. So, like, we missed that KO. And if we get Intimidated, going down to, like, a -1, we, like, super miss it, right? Let's just check out a... Sorry, one thing. Let's check out what our +1 calc is. +1 calc off the G-Max Strike would still get the KO. Even on a bulky Incin, I think you'd still get the KO. Yep, awesome. Let's see a +2. +2 is like a super obvious KO. So, like, obviously, this much attack is good. Let's see if our +1 calcs... I think making sure this number still KOs is really, really nice. Had Weezing. Weezing's good. So, I think realistically, we could probably take, like, over 100 points out because we're going to get such a big boost for having our nature. Another thing that's really important is having your nature in whatever stat that you're boosting be your highest stat in most situations, because a 10% boost to a stat that's like a 130 is so much more important than a 10% boost to like an 80 or an 85. It's just a higher number. So you might as well get those free points, but we're not going to use 2v2. I think another Pokemon we want to take a look at is Thundurus. So Thundurus here, and we're going to see how much damage we do with like Rockfall. So Stone Edge here. And so you can see we do a ton of damage. That's a +1. So that's after a policy proc. And that's when they're not max. So when they max, let's go back to the 252 over here. So we don't get the KO just straight up. If we go to +2 at 252, we obviously do get the KO. But let's try it at +1. You see, we barely KO, right? So I actually think we can take some points out here and have this be the number. To have that be the KO. So you can see we saved a lot of points there. So that's the number that we need at +1. The reason we're doing a +1 calc is if we were to policy proc and go to +2 and then get intimidated, this would still make it so we can KO the Thundy in every situation. I'm just all Scarlet and Violet brain right now, like Colossal. Turn it pure rock with the crystal gimmick and hit stuff with +2, +6 speed rock slides. I'm down. That sounds cool. That does sound cool. I would do that. Colossal, if Colossal's in the game, right? Do we know if Colossal's in the game? I almost hope that it's not. It sounds kind of busted. Anyways, right? You can see with this Rockfall, it will get the KO done still. So we can take a lot of those points out. Now, another thing you usually want to do is you usually want to put your points into HP first, especially on mons that like aren't restricted, aren't like legendaries and stuff like that. They just have a lower base HP. I would say rule of thumb is anytime you have like a less than like 1 in 10 base HP, put points in HP first. It's pretty important. And then from there, we just want to throw the rest of these points wherever we want to put them. I think realistically, Machamp has a decent Spadef, but like let's think of situations where we would like we're putting EVs in something would let us live. Like I wonder if like 76 points off 252 HP lets us live a Behemoth Blade. So like a 252, or maybe we have to take points out of HP and put a little bit more in defense, you know? Obviously, I think we'll live the Behemoth Blade, but like let's see what the damage looks like. So Zacian, plug this guy in over here, set this to 50. Take out the Dynamax, 252 on a Jolly set. So you get the Behemoth Blade. It can high roll into OHKOing us from there. So that means we want to mess with this number here to make sure that doesn't get the OHKO. So let's see if we put 8 in there and take 8 out there. Moves it just a little bit. Weak to fairy types. My rule is max HP, but have to be 1 less than a multiple of 6 for G-Max matchups. Hey, that's also a good way to look at it, you know? There's nothing wrong with that. Alright, so this is gonna... We're almost getting there. So we go to 100 there. We're getting lower. Alright, so 101. 101 still. 16. 105, we're getting there. 105, we're getting there. Still going. This one's probably going to be it. Ah, close. And there. So 180, 180, 148. So this lets us live a Zacian Behemoth Blade, which is awesome. From a Jolly Zacian, I think that's really, really good. This is not something you'd normally be able to live on either, so that's awesome. You know, being able to always know that they need to be adamant to OHKO your Machamp is huge. Just make sure I'm not wasting the points or something like that. Yep, awesome. Wow, we never live with Zacian play rough. The thing is, like, Zacian could play off the Machamp, but play rough can miss. And so most Zacian players would say, it's Machamp, I can just Behemoth Blade it. Right? So that's why we want to EV Train and live that. So of course, they could go for a player for something like that, but like this lets us, like, let's go for the player. I'll show you the calc. Because we're max, right? So this player of KOs, this player of doesn't. Zacian cannot one-shot our Machamp if we're in max mode. I test to see if 185 HP still gets numbers, because then you take minimal damage from G max field. Okay, yeah, I could try it. Let's see. Let's see, 185. And then, like, so 164, let's see. So we got, because that way we can find a little bit and put some points into, so 156 here. 156, let me check 148, yeah, 156. 156, 164, and then we have extra points now. We can just throw them into attack. Cool. Machamp Corn Bullet Punch, you can. I usually go pretty hard into my EVs, but it's amazing what a different perspective can do for you. Yeah, I mean, like, this is the thing Neve's talking about. Like, I wouldn't have went this far, and this still lives, you know? So it's good. 156, 164. Awesome. Efficiency go burr. Yeah, it's important. Like, that's literally what Pokemon is at the highest level, is, like, min-maxing your EVs. We've been working for, like, 15 minutes. We're on the first Pokemon, you know? Normally, though, you'd also want to split up some of this HP and put some into, like, SpedF and other things like that too, but this is fine. Calyrex is going to be a lot easier. I personally find that I don't think you really need a ton on Calyrex. It gets such a big boost from its high attack stat from nature, as well as like the As1 ability. I just go 196 here. That's all you really need. You're still going to get your KOs. You still have all the damage that you need, and then from there you just have 60 points. I like throwing those in SpedF. This is just the set that I use a lot of the time, and it definitely gets the job done. There might be a little bit more efficient way to get some points in defense, but I want the high base HP. You're not getting diminishing returns on any of your stats, and this lets you fight Kyogre just a little bit better, so that's why I like this set. Palkia. Palkia can be a little bit of a weird mixed bag, but let's check out some Palkia calcs. So Palkia, make sure to set it to 50, and go Kyogre here. So there's a bunch of other like standard Kyogre sets. Mostly they're vests right now. Vested Kyogre is what's really popular. Let's just check out the set that you submitted it with like a Life Orb. And let's just plug in Spatial Rend. Let's plug in Hydro, obviously, just because we have it. And let's plug in Thunder. And I'm going to show you how some of this works. No, I will totally still... if you missed it, I talked about your teams at the beginning of the stream, and I said I planned on using your teams, like, in videos over the course of this week. Like, literally, you can submit as many themes as you want. Like, where's the post? Like, it's just you, you know, so that's fine. Like, the fact that you have 3 teams, like, that's totally cool. There's nothing wrong with that. I'll get to them. And I've used them. I've had fun using them. Yep, Vested Kyogre, aka you don't code my Ho-Oh anymore. Yeah, Vested Kyogre is really, really popular. Now that's another reason why we're going to be using knockoffs. We're going to be doing calcs with and without the vest here. But as you can see, like, let's set the Kyogre to 50, obviously. We do a good amount of damage. Yeah, thank you for the follow. Yo, Pupitar. Very cool Pokemon. We do 86 to 102, just standard. Like, just straight up against this guy. And it's crazy how not effective that is, even with the Life Orb. But if we max, we're able to KO Sweeper Ogres. So, like, this number right here is able to KO Sweeper Ogre. We can probably actually take this down a lot. So, like, the fact that... You can see how many points we're actually taking out here. I think, like... 156 versus, like... See how many points we're able to take out of there? So, all the way down to 116 is still able to do good damage versus Ogre. let's also run some calcs versus like a bulky ogre set. So like a bulky ogre set would look something like that with like a salt vest. Do you see how that does exactly 50 there? Right? So like, we're still able to get the 2-co, and we're not reliant on a terrain. Realistically, we'd be setting the first one, Max Lightning, would do 50. It'd get a terrain up, which means the next one would do even more. So I do think that, like, realistically, this is a really good number to have on Palkia. It sucks we're using a Life Orb and having not full special attack, but it is okay. This is going to let us, like, change our EVs to make us mitigate our Life Orb damage. We're going to put a lot more points in bulk in this Palkia, and it's just going to be a lot more versatile than something like a standard 252, 252 set. So let's go back to the Palkia here. And we need to take like a lot of points. Is it like 212? Right here. So this is going to make it, anyone in chat, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. This is going to make it so you take less damage from the Life Orb overall. Life Orb takes 10% of your health every single time you attack. This makes it so you basically take 1 HP less every single time you do that by having it end with 9. I think that's the way that works. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Normally I don't really care that much about the Life Orb calc, but I know a lot of people do. And then from there you can see we have like so many extra points that we're going to be messing with. And again, we do want to be a modest nature, not quite, because we want to be able to outspeed other Palkias. And then we also want to check, so let's plug this guy back in here. So 188, and we're going to go back to Zacian and see if there's any way in hell we can live a play rough. There's 2 Pokemon we're actually going to be calcing for on this this spread. So yeah, so we have 192 if we want it. So we have 188 for, potentially. First time catching the stream in 2 years. Yo, welcome. Welcome, welcome. So, Play Rough does a lot. That's against Max Palkia. Let's take that out. So, we're totally gone here. Would using a distribution card be considered cheating? It's my only way to get Celebi and Victini. What's a distribution card? I mean, you can do whatever you want. No one's gonna... Like, this isn't even like a format that's gonna have tournaments, so you can do whatever you want. You're good. Let's see. So, there's no way to live that, right? There's no way we live that. If we were to Dynamax, you can see that really heavily mitigates it. So it looks like we don't need a ton of defense in Palkia, because like realistically, if we take all these points out, we just have to max and not get KO'd by the Zacian. The next Pokemon I want to look at is Cali Ice. So we're going to take a look at a Cali Ice set. I miss running Palkia Galvantula, but with no more Primal Groudon, there isn't much use for this booter. Yeah, I agree. Like Galvantula is another really cool mon as well. Let's give this thing 252. And let's give it like Glacial Lance. And make sure to set that for double since it's an AoE move and take this Palkia out of max. You can see this is a guaranteed 2-hit KO. We'd like this to not be a 2-hit KO if possible. So like that's the best we can do. And realistically, the fact that we are still getting pretty much O-code means it's not really worth going that hard into it. Because also if we take a chip of Life Orb, we would be ticking out over. So the next Pokemon I would want to take a look at then would be Calyrex Shadow. You see how we're just going on a list of like very popular Pokemon? I think I might have actually had that set to 50 actually. Let me go back. Or not set to 50. I think I might have had that set at 100 because that seems like really high. I mean, Calyrex just busted. No, that's just how much damage that does. That's crazy. It's crazy. Yep, Shadow. Alright, so we're just talking like a 252 Astral. And so you see that's off the set that we have right here with 188. You can tell that like we're technically already 3-hit KO'd, but we want this to do just a little bit less so we can actually get Weave and a Life Orb tick in there. Stroke's not that popular. It's not that popular. So let's see. Let's put like 100 points in here and see what that does. So you see that makes it low roll down to 38. And so 44 plus 44. 2 high rolls would leave us with a good amount of HP left to still weave in 1 to 2 attacks with our Palkia. So this is a better stat spread right here. So 100. And then we just throw the leftover points in right here. So they're just leftover, but they give us way more bulk. Do you see like how much bulkier this set is? Yo, Daddy Hitman 508 dropping the Prime sub. Subscribe for 3 months. Welcome to the Caterpie Club, my friend. Hopefully you're enjoying the stream today. Bam. Appreciate that. All right, so we've gotten 3 good EV spreads. Comfey is going to be super easy. So Sashmons, their EVs really don't matter. You could literally click the button. It would probably be okay. One thing about Comfey that I really, really enjoy, though, is trying my best to take out points in special attack. Because I do not want to chunk my Machamp for, like, 10% when I can chunk it for 5 and keep all the bulk. We went through so much trouble to get this Machamp spread. You don't want to mess it up, right? So that means I personally like using 0 attack, 0 special attack. And remember, this is the speed stat that we need to make sure we're not outsped by base 60s at full speed, right? So the rest of the stats, basically, you just go. I personally just do this. I like mine still being. I like actually running them like this. And you can be just a little bit more optimal, I would say. Let's see. We want to find ways to put points in defense. We don't need them. Like, we just don't need it. I think that it's better to go heavy into the SpDef stat because it makes it a good switch-in for things like Ogre. And, again, more switch-ins for Shadow Rider. Good switch-in on Yveltal and stuff like that, too. So just putting points in SpDef there is probably going to be the better play. It's also giving you a bigger bang for your buck. Like, realistically, you can see 159 to 174. That's 15. If we were to put that nature in here instead, just hypothetical, 121 from 110 to 121, that's 11. So you want the 15 points as opposed to the 11. Yeah, I love Comfey. It's like absolutely busted. Love this Pokemon. Indeedee. This Pokemon getting a little bit weird. There's nothing really wrong with this EV spread because like you want to balance out the fact that you have like a Psychic Seed to give it +1 SpDef. And so your special defense is going to be massive. And so you want to make sure you're not dying on the physical side since you're a redirection mon. But we're going to take a look at a little way that we might be able to optimize this Indeedee. So let's put the Indeedee here. Alright, Indeedee. Be sure you set it to into 50. And let's take a look at Zacian and see how much damage Zacian does with the Behemoth Blade. But I need speed if all your moves have priority except Trick Room. Like I talked about it. An Incineroar spread or Grimmsnarl that have full speed on a base 60 could fake you out before you can use Draining Kiss. So you want to be able to outspeed other fake out users that have the same move priority as your Draining Kiss boosted by Triage, right? That's why. So it doesn't cost you anything to be faster than them, and it saves you. So you can go for Draining Kiss and Floral Healing against mons that are fast that have fake out. That is the reason why. So against Zacian here. And we're still like a 252 Jolly set. So you can see something's not right. I have it set as regular Zacian. I was like, something is incorrect. It didn't have its Intrepid Sword boost either. Alright, so here we go. Alright. You can see it does a crap ton of damage against Indeedee. Like, they're super gone. You can max out your HP. Yeah, you can max out your defense slot. And, like, you can even give it nature, which is what we're doing. We're going with, like, a relaxed nature. And so you see how, right there. So they can't get the Oko, right? But that doesn't mean you have to go, like, full defense. You can actually take just, like, a couple of the points out. Right there. So you can go 244. And this does a couple things for you. So instead of going like this, you can go 244. And then you have 8 extra points to do with what you wish. Realistically, what I like to do is I throw those into special attack as opposed to SpDef. I think SpDef's nice. You also get like more bang for your buck being just a little bit bulky on the SpDef side. But I like just throwing them in the special attack slot because like I do use Expanding Force. Expanding Force is pretty good. And this set just works for me. So this is a better, much better EV Indeedee spread because you're also using the speed reduced set, which is very important. Incineroar, here we are. So this is an Incineroar set I've used in the past, but this is an older spread for an older format. The thing that we want to do is I really like their Choppleberry. It's mitigating your damage from Zacians. Like we go plug in an Incineroar over here. So Incineroar, let's just plug in like Sacred Sword and stuff like that. And show off like how much damage you mitigate through the use of this Choppleberry. So if we change our item to Chopple. See, the Sacred Sword doesn't do nearly as much. You're definitely fine. We still want to have heavy HP investment, in my opinion. Incineroar's doesn't have such a high base HP that it would get diminishing returns. But I think this is okay for now. We're going to mess with it in just a sec. And you can see how the Sacred Sword does a little bit over half. We can also factor in the fact that we can put an Intimidate onto the Zacian. You can see how that's not that much for the Sacred Sword. Am we going to battle this team or just fixing it? We're just fixing it. We're not going to battle with it. I don't really want to battle on Showdown today. And I think that, like, it's a good spread, but you do need to be able to KO the Zacian back. So we're going to click out for Flare Blitz here. So you can see our Flare Blitz doesn't get the KO if you don't put attack points into it. I think you need to put about 100. And then I also, because remember we talked about like putting the nature to get the bigger boost, put that as an adamant guy. And you can see that's close enough in my opinion. It's way too much investment to like go like that a lot of the time. We can do it though. We'll do it for today. So 116 in attack, adamant. This also makes it the fact that you have like Throat Chop and Flare Blitz, you're a good max option now. So that's the thing that sometimes like you're not gonna be able to use your Machamp. Maybe Palkia gets KO'd early after setting Trick Room. You're not really gonna max your Cali. And Sin's a really good max mon. Like you can max it. It'll do a ton of damage. Solid mon. We have 96 points to do with what we will. You can put those basically wherever you want. But let's see. And I know a lot of people don't like max HP in Sin. Like Neve was talking about, you can do like something very specific. I like max HP in Sin just because I take so much recoil that I want to be able to have as much of that resource as possible. But let's see, where do we want to put these? Because like we don't actually need to put them anywhere else. Like we could probably realistically just go 92 and 4. And the thing about this set that's cool is the Chople Berry helps us not get KO'd by the Zacian, right? If we were to switch in, like let's just go take a look at this here. There's the same Zacian. Let's take a look. Let's just plug in a Play Ref as well. So after an Intimidate, you can see the Sacred Sword, the max it can do through our Chople Berry is 40%, which means like we would take, realistically, 60%, 59.9 is the max, which means it's 59, and 40, which means they can't KO us in any combination of a double up. So you can switch in on the Zacian, soak any of these moves, and then soak a Sacred Sword, right? That's absolutely amazing. And they would Sacred Sword. They wouldn't play off again, just because they don't want to risk the miss. They would Sacred Sword. They'd proc a Chople. You're good to go. I guess if they double play off, you would get KO'd, but that's absolutely fine. And also a little bit of wiggle room. There you go. Not that it really does anything in that. But yeah, I do think it's a good set. I think this team is a lot better than it was originally submitted as. We fixed every one of these EVs. Basically made this team shine, and I think it's gonna be fine. I think the things you want to be doing with this team are going for a mixture of Cali, Palkia, Comfey. If you're gonna be going as like a Comfey Machamp lead, what I would be doing probably is like protecting Machamp and trying to just Trick Room with the Comfey. That's what I would be doing. You could also go for like a mixture of like Incin in any of these guys and go for like a Fake Out Trick Room. You can go for a Redirection Trick Room with like an Indeedee in any of these three as well. All solid leads. I think that like I just think it's a good team now. Remember though that once you get your Trick Room up, your Machamp's going to underspeed your Cali, and you're going to be able to then start passing those crit boosts onto your mons. So that's going to be really cool. One other thing you want to note is that remember we did change this to a white herb, so you will you actually can lead versus Sin now. Now you don't have to lead Palkia versus Sin anymore, so that's pretty cool. Let me think about any other big changes that we made. Your Cali and Palkia and your Incin have all been speed crept to outspeed their mirrors. So that means when you're fighting against like Palkia, Calyrex, you don't need to set Trick Room. You force them to set Trick Room and you punish them and just slam attacks in the whole time. Like let's say your opponent were to lead Incin Cali, right? And you led like Cali anything. You'd soak that Intimidate. You can just open up just slamming Glacial Lances in their face. Or just going for a big max Quake in their Incin, picking up the KO because your as one turns off their Shucka, and you're good to go. So I think it's a really cool team. It's a lot better, and good luck with it. All right. That's one team. We've been here for an hour, and we have one team fixed. Hey, this stuff takes a long time. You know, it does take a long time. Both Arcanine and Luxray got confirmed in the presents. Will Incin come in completely outclass both of them for a third generation in a row? I know, right? It's crazy. All right, let's take a look at this next team. next team's going to be right here. Not sure if this counts. Updated the Evil Reshi team. This is a team that I've used on YouTube. I like this team a lot. It's a really, really cool Reshiram Yveltal team. They made a rental code, so I'll probably use it on YouTube as well. So when I used that team, I talked a lot about how like Yveltal is one of those mons that's really good in the team preview, but it's actually hard for Yveltal to like establish its board presence on the board, right? So they noticed that. Let's see. I realized this was true during a ranked match when I led Yveltal Lucky against Amoonguss TR lead. I used Oblivion Wing on Amoonguss, only to be disappointed in Oko. So now it's a live orb Yveltal, and they switch now for Heat Wave, which you actually need to do on Yveltal. That way you can actually deal with Zacian. So good changes so far. Let's see. As for Ferrothorn, I don't remember why I gave it Impish Nature opposed to Min Speed Nature, but I think it's something to do with outspeeding him on outside of TR. Okay, it's probably Gastro. It's probably Gastro. I also mentioned Chopper Ray might be a good idea for Incins. We just talked about that. Which do you think would be optimally best? Lefties or Chopple? Depends on... Oh, this is talking about Ferrothorn. Well, same idea. Like, you want to be able to check Zacian so you don't get messed up. I think Lefty's still better on Ferrothorn. Lando's last mon that was out of the lineup to mitigate damage. It used to be a Ditto, but I didn't use Ditto properly. The Ditto's hard to use if you're not used to it. So the idea was to pair it with Lucky so I can have opponents with Groudon Lando teams to proc my Reshiram's weakness policy to avoid the speed reduction from Bulldoze. Also having that damage mitigation from physical attack oriented teams, so I'll add Lando to Swords Dance while taking very little damage. Alright. Every time I pulled it off, it always results in a big W, but as you mentioned, without it having Protect, it does force you to burn a Max Guard turn. Yeah. Change Swords Dance to Protect for safer options. But you mentioned in your first review that Lando might not be needed. Yeah, it's definitely not needed. You don't need Lando. Magic Powder Hatterene, that's a little bit dicey. Alright. Also, you also called it during the initial review of my team. Stros versus TR teams. That's the thing. I said this team's really, really cool, but it's hard to fight TR teams. And this is the thing we're going to be working on today, right? I've dealt with some pretty well, but the one that is a struggle is Cali I Trick Room team. So, like, literally any Cali Trick Room team that's like competitive. Once that thing gets going, it goes south very quickly. I don't think I've won against a Cali ITR team yet, but I'm still working on my flowcharts. Okay, so we're gonna fix that. We're gonna fix that. I mean, this team can struggle versus Cali, but like we have all the tools. We have all the tools to beat Cali. Though the best way to beat Cali is to not let it actually do anything, right? And you just gotta bring the right mons. You just have to wait out the Trick Room and you're good to go. So how would I fix this? The first thing you want to do is whenever you send a rental team, you want to set it to level 100 because you got to do your calcs level 50, not level... Sorry, you want to set it to 50, not 100. And then from there, 50-50, this guy's set to 100. There might be wasted EVs if like you were calcing for level 100. So make sure these are always set to 50. Alright, well, Lando doesn't have to go out. We'll talk about that. Because Lando actually provides some value to the team. I don't think you have to cut Lando. Let's plug it into the team builder here. Perfect. So the cool thing about this team, if we scroll a little bit here, you can see that they're not stacking 3 weaknesses in any situation. Like you're like, oh, this team's so weak to Cali Ice. It's like has Yveltal Lando, but like realistically it has things like Reshiram, Suicune, and Ferrothron, which are really good versus Cali in my opinion if played correctly. We have some Pokemon that we can switch into for any of our Pokemon that are weak against this sort of stuff. So, like, yes, we have an Ice weakness. We have at least one Mon that can deal with it. Yes, we have, like, 2 Pokemon weak to Rock. We have at least one Pokemon that can mitigate it. But also, think about it. The 2 types that we're not as resistance-based up against, that being Ice and Rock, the 2 most popular types and Pokemon that use those moves are going to be physical. It's going to be Cali Ice using the Ice attack, and it's going to be like Groudons and Landorus using rock attacks. So an Intimidate from a Landorus would solve that, and heavy HP investment in defense can make it so those weaknesses that we don't have perfect coverage for can be dealt with in certain situations. What's the website for Team Builder? It's called Maryland. Maryland. I'll just share it in here. All right, give me 1 second as well. Forgot that I have to do this. Got these Digivices. There's going to be a stream where we're going to be using these relatively soon. I just got to make sure there's no medical emergencies. That's what I call these guys. They're my little medical emergencies. Alright, I got to him in time. Alright. So, let's start getting into what we want to do. Remember, we want our speed stats to be done first. So, what speed stats do we need on something like a Yveltal? Yveltal is pretty fast, and we usually want to have Yveltal calced to be able to outspeed very specific stuff. So let's plug in your stat right here and see what it gets. You had 236, right? Awesome. So Yveltal, set that to 50. And 236. So if we were to go like this, let's give it a, let's go to 50. If we were to give this a +1, this will be from an Airstream boost. You go to 223. Now that's a really cool number because it lets you outspeed things like Zacian, right? Zacian right here. Let's just plug it in, give ourselves a little jolly set right here. You can see Zacian's 220. Something like Shadow Rider is 222. You can see it. We're gonna get it right here. Right, so it's important to outspeed these things. And you're like, yeah, I outspeed Shadow Rider by 1 point. That's great. You know what's a Pokemon that's 223? That's really, really good. Pheromosa, right? Pheromosa also has moves that are super effective against Yveltal. Right, so if a Pheromosa is coming out here, it can be built physical or special, be jolly or timid. It gets triple axle for physical. It gets ice beams and blizzards for special. So you don't want to speed tie that. So the first thing you want to do is you need to outspeed Pheromosa. It only costs 8 more, and it means you don't automatically lose the game to any matchup, right? At least outspeed Lando by 2 for Yveltal. Yeah, I agree. You want to also make it so whenever you're doing stuff like that, if everyone's doing like, ha, I outspeed Shadow Rider by 1 point, you know, you might just want to make sure that you're outspeeding people that outspeed Shadow Rider by an extra point, so you're not speed tying people in that situation. Another thing you want to do is, realistically, if we're going to go through all this trouble to be 244, you might want to think, this is just on you. You might want to still think you might just want to put the 252, right? So that way, other like modest Yveltals, you're not just automatically losing to a speed tie, right? Or sorry, at least it forces the speed tie instead of like them actually just always outspeeding. Just a thought. So yeah, 244 is all we technically need. 150 is a good number. Other than that, let's go check out the Lecky. There's nothing wrong with running 252 on a Sash Lecky. We talked about it on the previous team about how like Sashmons, yes, you want to do your best to like make sure, that their EVs are in the right spot, but like, you know, they're Sash, so like you don't need to put a ton of bulk. You need to put out a bunch of stuff like that. Forcing speed ties on Lecky is pretty important. Realistically, the only speed that you need is going to be like, I think you need like 44 here. And I think this like outspeeds basically everything you'd need to outspeed, but there's nothing, like you can see that's already speed creeping like Landos and stuff like, not Landos, Shadow Riders and Zacians, all that by like 3 or 4 points. So it's going to be really, really good. What move causes entry damage that's not Stealth Rocks? Spikes, Toxic Spikes. There's also G-Max Dots, or G-Max like Steel Rocks and stuff like that. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with just going with the 252 set. That'll, especially on your Sashmon, so that's fine. Reshiram's up next. I really like this EV spread on the Reshiram. We're just looking at speeds right now. Because you would make this, let's put a Reshiram here. Reshiram. And so we're going to go 76. And if we give a +1 from like an Airstream or like an Electro of the teammate, that goes to 180. The reason why 180 is significant is because Thundurus is something that can only get to, so like max Thundurus gets to not Impish, Jolly. There we go. 179. So this outspeeds Thundurus by 1 point. So this is a good benchmark to get to. You can get to 120. If you can get to 150, get to 150. Reshiram can get to 150. It's just not worth the investment at that point. So 76 is the like bulky, like 120 is the bulky, 150 is more of a sweeper, right? So yeah, I think that's a good spread so far. Go to the Suicune next. Also, like Reshiram, Yeah, there might be like situations where you also might be able to lead like Reshiram Suicune. The point of this team is to bulldoze Policy Bracket Reshiram, but you can always like protect your Reshiram turn 1, have Suicune go for like an Icy one to bulldoze a Tailwind, give you a little speed control. This Reshiram will also double its speed to outspeed 240. This would also double speed to outspeeding like Shadow Riders and stuff like that. So this is a good EV spread for the speed right there. Suicune though, outspeeded Reshiram by 1 point. That's great. Everything's looking good so far. The Ferrothron here, they've changed it to be speed reduced, which I think is probably a good thing. I think realistically you could keep the Gyro Ball. If things like Cali are a problem though, you might want to think about going with like an Iron Head. But yeah, I do think that this is a fine Ferrothorn EV spread. There's nothing wrong with that. The Lando, full speed Lando, I'm fine with that. Lando's popular enough. Lando also, let's go plug in Landorus. There's a reason why Landorus is better full speed. We'll talk about that right here. So Landorus after an Airstream, if it's full speed Jolly, because it's a 91, it's not the speediest boy. Gets a 235. That's pretty significant. I'm trying to remember the exact reason why. Oh yeah, the reason you have to be full speed Lando, it's because it's a 91 base speed. And things like Groudon and Kyogre are base 90s. So if you want to be able to outspeed Scarf Kyogres, and you already have an Airstream past your Lando, this will ensure that like you're outspeeding Scarf. You're always going to be faster than a Kyogre in any situation, unless like they have a Scarf and you don't have any sort of speed control, right? So you just want to be able to maintain the fact that like I know exactly how this thing works. Very similar to Lucky. Like this is one of those things where I'm not even going to let you outspeed me. I want to, at the worst case scenario, be speed tying my mirrors and stuff like that. All right, so now that our speeds are fine, let's start taking a look at some of the items. Life Orb's good, Sash is good, Policy's good, Walkin' Berry's good. I think Walkin's a great option here, just for being able to mitigate your, like you can just lead this versus Lucky now, and like Lucky's not the biggest deal, but Lucky's a major pain for Suicune, so it's great item choice there. Leftovers is good there, and the Wide Herb's amazing on a Lando set like this, so really, really good stuff. And let's start taking a look at some of our moves. That's the correct Yveltal set. Dark Pulse is great. Oblivion Wings there to give Airstreams and just be a good move. Heat Wave's there so you can hit Zacians. Lucky. Standard Lucky set to, here too. I personally think that like this move can be cut for 3 or 4 different moves. There's nothing wrong with the Thunder, but sometimes you want to put like a screen in the situation. So like if you're finding you're having a really, really hard time exclusively versus things like Cali Ice, maybe you cut this for like a Reflect and you let them get Trick Room and just pop a Reflect. And then you just hard switch to your Suicune and Reshiram and just laugh at them, right? So think about that. I don't think there's anything wrong with Thunderbolt though. Just really, really solid move. And then other things you can put there that are weird are like, obviously there's dual screens. That's basically it. I don't think you need Thunder. I sometimes like using Thunder there, but it's not like required. You could also think about like putting a Weather there if like a specific weather's like a problem. Like you could put a Rain Dance there if you wanted. You could put Rising Voltage there if you put a Max in the sky a lot, but I think you're okay. Thunderbolt is completely fine for how a Regieleki should be played. Reshiram, good EV spread, or sorry, good move set here. That's what you need. You got the Earth Power for Max Quake. This goes Max Wormwind. Heat Wave's better than Blue Flare because it hits both, so good stuff. Suicune, good spread here too. It'd be nice to see Protect, but we don't necessarily need it now that we can, like, the only Pokemon we would ever be afraid of is a Lecky, and now we don't die to Lecky, so we're good. This also helps us versus the Thundurus matchup too, which definitely is possible. Ferrothorn here, I think I talked a little bit about cutting Gyro Ball for Iron Head, just to be just a little bit better versus Cali Ice, but realistically, if you set the Leech Seed, get the leftovers, you'll be able to wall that guy out easy. And the Lando here, I think this is a good Lando spread for the moves. I think the only thing that you might want to think about doing is putting just U-Turn here. That way you can be a little bit more free in how you would play it versus Cali, but I don't think you need it. It looks good. Let's start taking a look at some of the EVs now on the rest of the team. So let's go back over here. I remember when I first saw this EV spread, I thought it was wrong, and that you could actually get more bang for your buck by going not modest, but modest is the nature that you want. Let's just take a look at your calcs and make sure you have enough damage to do what you need to do. So 188 plus on the Yveltal. $188 plus on a Yveltal. Does that to me every time. And let's plug in Zacian. I know we have to give it the, we still have to give it a Life Orb. And let's throw the Dark Ore on there as well. Alright, so let's plug in Heat Wave. Alright, so you can see this Heat Wave's obviously not going to do a ton. Do a lot more when we do it like that. And let's see what happens when we max it. So this definitely can just OHKO, like a straight up OHKO versus Zacian, if you're in max mode. Even if they're a bulky Zacian, they're still probably going to go away. If you know they're going to be bulky Zacian from the team preview, if you already have your Sun up, they're definitely gone. But realistically, the fact that we have a Life Orb there just makes us deal a ton of damage. Let's check out like a Mungus. Munguses are usually built Sash or Koba, and they have like 236 usually, so they don't get diminishing returns. Let's just throw 100 points in there just to see. This Max will almost get the KO there if there's no Sun. Let's just check out Oblivion Wing. So Oblivion Wing's definitely going to be able to get the OHKO, but you can tell if they have the Koba here. Being able to reduce berries, like they're going to be able to not get KO'd from that. So just watch out for Koba berries. But like realistically, good spread on Yveltal so far. Last one I want to check out is like Rillaboom. And so the Rillaboom set that we're going to be taking a look at is a vested set. So like a 252 vest. So you can see the Airstream still gets the KO. Oblivion Wing doesn't though. So just note that you have to max to KO like a standard Rilla set. Obviously, if you take out the vest, if you know Rilla has like a different item or something, you'll obviously get the KO there. But just watch out for that. I would say another thing is like, if we were to put the Heat Wave back on here, Heat Wave versus this Rilla set will get the KO single target. But like Dynamax, you have it set for doubles, like you obviously won't get it at all. And this is let's put the Assault Vest. There you go. So the max, you need the Sun to get the KO in the Rilla. So if you're trying to avoid like a Koba Berry or something like that, so you can see the Airstream can still KO even through Koba if they have that set. On a set like, again, this is just like a standard Rillaboom set. It's just showing all the different options and stuff like that. So realistically, what I'm trying to say is like, this is the number that you need here. This is the number that you need here. You just need a little bit more speed. You just got to find a place to take some HP out. And I think the 204 here is actually really nice. It makes it so if like, for example, if the game were to last to where like you'd be fighting against something like Nightshade or Seismic Toss, those would deal a static 50. But you have 51 HP as your quarter, right? So you'd be able to, if you weren't necessarily taking Life Orb damage, maybe you just wanted to use Protect and elongate the game out a little bit, you'd be able to make it so those type of moves were those moves would be a 5-hit KO on you, and the fact that you can restore health with Oblivion Wing makes it so you would never really die to those Pokemon. So we want to keep that HP number exactly right there. I would take these last 8 points out of probably Spadef, realistically, because this calc is probably for Zacian. But yeah, very, very aggressive Yveltal. Just need one more point in speed. Lucky, standard, don't want to get those speed ties, so I think this is a good set. The Reshiram here, I think that it's more value. That's a good spread. Like, I don't think you need anything else extra. I think that's too much special attack realistically. But like, I think this is still good. I don't actually see a problem with this. This looks like a well-made Reshiram set, but I think you're wasting 4 points here. No, you're not. Yeah, that's good. It's a good set. I don't think there's a single problem with this. Yeah, I think that's a good set. It's not too much HP. It's very, very bulky on the defensive side, which you need to be to fight Cali Ice. All right, and then same thing goes for the Suicune set. You'd get more bang for your buck by putting your nature. You can see, I might be wrong about this. So 138 to 151, no, it's 13. And 138, 142 to 56. So you get an extra point in putting your nature here. But it looks like you just need to get your nature to like, you either need to get the defense to this exact number, 151, or you need to, yeah, so let's see, how can we get that to 151? We don't need any points in special attack. You're very weak here. It's even if you can't like OHKO a Cali with that, if you take the 60 points out, it's fine. It's not worth the points. So let's take a look at like what 76 gets you here. 145, so you're closer. I really just don't think you need, like, any of those points. Like, I realistically think, like, even that would be better. I just don't think you need any points on your, special attack stat just because you're using moves like this. It's not really worth it to calc for, like, the Icy Winds and Snarls. Like, Suicune just a bulky mon. It doesn't have to do anything else extra. Yeah, we got a follow. Appreciate it. The other thing you want to do is drop the points out of attack. That way you're just doing less damage with your bulldozes. So very, very important to do that. Other than that, I think this is just a little bit better. I think, like, let me just check this. Because, like, if Suicune had Scald, I would justify the Suicune having some investment in special attack. But this one doesn't. So, and it shouldn't. Like, this is a fine set. It doesn't need it. So let's put the 60. Because, like, I don't want to mess up their set if I don't have to. Let's go Snarl and Icy Wind. And let's plug in, like, Lando first. Because I want to see if, like, there's, like, an Oko calc on Lando with the Icy Wind or something like that. Like, it's not, but I just want to make sure. Yeah, see, like, that's not worth it at all. And then, like, Shadow Rider. Yeah, not even close. It maintains the fact that it's a 3-hit KO, but, like, if you stick one Icy Wind in, sorry, one Snarl in, they're gonna be neutered. So yeah, it's just wasting points having that special attack there. That's still a 3-hit KO, right? Yeah, you're good to go. As for the Ferrothorn, so that's wasting points right there. 4 is the number. So we can find a more optimal way to use those points. The more optimal way is to just cut that and put them into another stat. Ooh, you don't want points in attack. You don't need them. That's why your Ferrothorn's hard to use. So I would realistically just go like this then. I would just go 196. That's what I would do with this set. I would just make stuff as bulky as possible. Like, you want to be relying on things like Ferrothorn and Suicune to be your pivots to deal with Cali Ice. Like, you don't actually need, like, a ton of damage. I also think, like, realistically, if you're gonna make yourself like this, you probably would do something like, you could put Sub here. I like Sub here a lot, actually. But, like, a lot of people would probably just go Body Press at this point. Right? That way you could just have that way you have an instant matchup if like a Trick Room goes up, or if something were to happen, like maybe they didn't go after you, you'd have a way to actually hit an Incineroar, which, like, they probably wouldn't see coming. This also kind of helps you just be a little bit more of a bully versus things like, I would say this is definitely easier to deal with, like, Zacians with too. Like, obviously Gyro Ball would do a lot to a Zacian, but, like, Gyro Ball's just not a lot of damage, and basically this lets you play around Intimidate as well. So this is what I would do here. Realistically, instead of going for big damage with, like, Power-Ups and Gyro Balls, you should be, like, setting on Seeds and sitting back, right? Alex, how goes it? So that's what I would do here. As for this Lando spread, this is a great Lando spread. I've used this Lando spread in the past. Note that, like, instead of going like this, which is how most people would do it, they're like, oh, I have leftover points, because you only need this much attack to actually maintain that you can KO things with the Max Quake. So instead of just going like that, it's so much smarter to cut up that last 8 points and put 4 in each stat. So they did a really good job with this Lando spread. And I don't think you should be bringing Lando a ton, but it's definitely required there, just to keep people honest to, like, hey, maybe you shouldn't bring that Lucky. Like, we really just don't want them bringing Lucky. So it's really, really good to see this Lando set. And I think this team is just a little bit better. We made the Yveltal just a little bit different. We made the Suicune just a little bit different. And we went over and explained the reasons why each one of the Mons does what they do, the situations that they're doing them, and against Trick Room, which, again, Trick Room was the team that they struggled with. You probably should be relying a little bit more on, like, switching in, mitigating damage, waiting out those Trick Room turns safely, because the fact that you have, like, Reshiram with Protect, Suicune, Ferrothorn, there's no reason why you should be, like, losing to a Trick Room team, in my opinion. Well, maybe not, like, no reason, but, like, you definitely have the tools to win it. I think when I played this team, I beat a Trick Room team. It can be hard to deal with, like, things like Porygons and stuff, but that's why you just have Snarl, Suicune for. So I think that this team can be good. I don't think you really need to mix it up that much. This team's definitely a team that, like, you could take to, like, the top 2K Master Ball. And they also submitted rental code. They don't need to change anything on the rental code. I'm probably going to use the rental and have a good time with it on stream. Probably later this week or something, for either for a YouTube video or just on the stream.